So these are the practice problems that I asked you to do as part of your note packet in lesson 4-1. So I'm going to quickly go over these. If you have any questions with regards to any of the practice problems that you were asked to do, you can always ask me tomorrow when I see you during your algebra period. So let's go ahead and do number 1 and 2 under practice monitoring progress. So you should have written y is equal to 7x plus 2. Where did I get the 7? I got it from my slope. Where did I get the 2? I got it from my y-intercept. Moving on to the second example, you were given that the slope was 1/3 and the y-intercept was -1. Therefore, you know that your equation is y is equal to 1/3 x minus 1. Again, the 1/3 goes right in front of the x. That's my slope. And the y-intercept was -1. Therefore, I just write -1. The summarizing it at the bottom, you should have done that on your own. So hopefully you were able to do that. Moving on to look at example 2. So in example 2, I had given you the insert where I printed out the right graphs. So these were the two that we did in class, or that I did in my previous video. And then moving on, these were the two problems that you were given on the handout. So you should have written that. You could have done it one of two ways. You could have either used the graph to calculate the slope. I got 1/2 right at the very beginning by counting up 1 and over 2 because I used this point. The other point, you could have used these 2 points, which would have meant I would have counted up 2 and over 4, which would have been 2 over 4. And you have to simplify that to 1 over 2. So you could have also used the y2 minus y1 in this example. In both examples, I just counted. So therefore, I also noticed that I had a y-intercept of 0, 1, which meant my b was 1. Therefore, if I had a b and I had a slope, I'm able to write the following equation of y is equal to 1/2 x plus 1. Moving on to the second example, again I counted and I noticed that my line was going down. Therefore, my slope was -2 over 5, so -2/5. Also notice that there is my y-intercept, 0, -1, which put my b as -1, which is right here. Therefore, I'm able to write the following equation of y is equal to -2/5 x minus 1. You were then supposed to go in and summarize by comparing and contrasting example 1 and 2. I'm not going to do that. You should be able to do that on your own. Moving on to the next page, page number 8. This was the problem where you use 2 points to write an equation. And we noticed in this example that we were given 2 points, and we were lucky enough that one of the points was a y-intercept right here. We like that. It makes our lives a lot easier. So this was the example I worked out. Then you were supposed to go in and do this problem. So you're going to notice that in this problem you're again given 2 points, labeling them x1 and y1 and x2, y2. Noticing right away, I did, that 0, -2 is my y-intercept, which put that my b was -2. Then I went in and I calculated the slope by pulling each one of these values. So I have 10 minus the -2, which turns it into 10 plus 2, which is 12. And then y2 minus y1, 4 minus 0 is 4. Simplify it down. I got that my m is equal to 3. Then I have the 2 most important points. I have my b and I have my m. Therefore, I'm able to write the following equation. Y is equal to 3x minus 2. You were supposed to go in and make sure that you summarize the steps in order to write an equation in example 3. That really helps solidify your learning of those concepts. Moving on to page 10, I worked through example 4, where you were given, I should say, a linear function, and that what these f of x values were. We went in and assigned x and y values, and then at the bottom here you were supposed to try these and do them on your own. So you're going to note that I have 0, 9 and 8, 7. You can see what I did right here is I have x is 0 and y is 9. I'm able to write my ordered pair. And then I did the same thing right here. Here's my second ordered pair. Over here, you'll note that I labeled each one of x1 and y1 and x2, y2. Then I calculated my slope. So I got my slope of negative 2 over 8. And I went ahead and simplified that further down to negative 1/4. And I noted that that was my m. So I drew a box around that and I labeled it so I don't forget. And then I went back and I noticed that I had, when x is 0, y is 9. Therefore, I knew that that was my y-intercept. Therefore, b is equal to 9. Once I know my b and I've got my m, or my slope, I'm able to write the following equation of y is equal to negative 1/4 x plus 9. So hopefully you did well on all of those examples. Again, if you didn't, please make sure that you double check with me. Now would be a good time for you to start your homework. Lesson 4.1 is kind of do a couple of these really quickly. I would definitely do the first page. It kind of takes you step by step as to what you need to do. All you need to do is fill in. And again, notice that when you're given graphs, you do not have to use the y2 minus y1. If you want to use the graph to calculate it, I am totally, you should find what works best for you. I would hold off and do, maybe go in and do 9 and 10 right away, but definitely you don't want to spend too much time on this because you do need to get to lesson 4-2. And I'm going to start that right after I shut this video down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do lesson 4-2. So you need to make sure that you have time to watch both videos.